Hello there, fellow auto enthusiasts. Today we're going to be diving into the world of car maintenance with the focus on the 2004 and 2015 Nissan Armada. Now, these came out for over a decade, and we're going to be tackling two important tasks on this today. With the first task being installing a cabin air filter, and then we're going to be repairing a broken glove box using epoxy. Now, if you don't know anything about what a cabin air filter does, I'm going to give you a little bit of information so that you can feel comfortable knowing the part that you're reinstalling is something that's really important to the crucial part of keeping your car in really good health, especially if you're breathing in the air that you are. You're not going to want to be breathing in anything that's been contaminated with tons of dust, debris, and dirt. Or even worse, environmental pollution and stuff like that. That's all gets trapped inside of your cabin air filter, so I always recommend buying a really good one. Do not cheap out on the filter. Like I showed you in the manual, if you don't have a video, you can always go into your instruction manual that comes with the car. It comes with a bunch of pamphlets to show you on the maintenance. As you can see here, we're going to be popping out the screws on the top of the glove box now. Take your time. You can use a manual screwdriver or an electric one if you want and get it off with your impactor, and you'll be able to get these off very easily. And also, don't forget about the ones on the bottom end. There's two screws on the bottom of the glove box which retains it and holds it on the bottom. Now, when you take out the bottom screws, remember you're going to have to put the glove box back up. Do not pull those tabs off yet unless you want to be holding it up with your hand at the same time while unscrewing it. Alright, once all the screws and you have the string off on the side, you're going to want to start pulling on it. Grab it from the inside of the glove box so you don't have to worry about contorting it. And you can pull it forward and you'll feel the pins and tabs slowly letting it loose. Now, if you wiggle it side to side, that also helps the glove box loosen and pop itself out. You do not want to break those tabs that hold this in place. I know you have screws, but those tabs also hold it up and retain it from sagging. Alright, once you have the glove box off, walk it to a safe area. I'm using the back of the vehicle to apply the JB weld over the area that broke. Now, if you're familiar with plastic interior parts, you know that they're very flimsy, so they'll break over time from flexing in the wrong way. Now, what you're going to do is mix up the two-part epoxy, and you're going to make sure that you stir it together very well. Make sure you have the right amount of activator or hardener. I'm using the back of the product's material that came with it so that I can use this piece of cardboard to stir it on. It was going to go in the garbage anyway, so that's why I used it. Alright, what you're going to do is clean the area off and make sure that you have nothing in the way, no grease and nothing that's going to cause it from not sticking. Once you're done thoroughly cleaning the area, mix up the epoxy like I said and let it start setting, not too long, but just enough so it's not super stringy. Let it firm up just a bit, and then we're going to be applying it to the broken pieces. Spread it nice and thoroughly between the two of them and in between the crack. If you can lift the area up and put it between the crack, this will ensure the strongest hold, and then we're going to be putting a small layer around the outside and holding it down that way. Once you're done doing that, smoothing it out, we're going to use a little bit of Windex to get any little bit of residue that may have dripped down. Now you can use a popsicle stick or something like that to spread around the material. Unfortunately, I dropped the screw I was using and I dropped it on the plastic, so we're going to use some Windex to get it off before it hardens and stains it. Now this can happen to anyone, so just know that you can still get it off in time. Wipe it off with Windex and then use an interior cleaner, a rag or spray. I don't really like Armor All that much, but I have it right now. It's still what I have available, so I'm going to use that up. You use an Armor All wipe and also use the Windex, which I have in this unknown bottle, which I fill it up. Just spray that on that area, wipe it off. Alright, we're at the part of the video where we're going to be installing the new air filter. We bought it from ATP and it's a two-part filter. As you can see here, it has two separate parts. One goes side by side. And don't forget, like I said, make sure you see which way the airflow has to go. These filters are sensitive in which way they have to be facing. Now find the cover and the bolt that's attached to it, which holds in the cabin air filter that's behind where your glove box was. Once you're done with that, you can attach your socket onto your 3/8 drive, and we're going to be using this DeWalt impactor. It's really good. I'm going to put it on the lowest setting and make sure that we can bust it off without snapping the plastic. Now use an extender on your socket so that you can reach inside without your tool hitting the sides where you need to get this in there. Now to find the size, if you're worried about it being the wrong one, use your extension with the socket on it, not even attach the impactor, and test it and see if it grabs on and it's the right size for this bolt. Alright, check if your DeWalt or whatever tool you're using is at the lowest setting so you don't break this bolt. We're going to use that to bust it off. Now slide that cover out and take your time and make sure you don't lose that bolt. Place it somewhere that you know where this cover is so you don't lose it, because you're going to need it to reinstall it later. Once you take a good look, you can see how these filters are slid in there. One slid in side by side to make sure that they both can fit. As you can see, there's a wiring harness in the way, but you can also see how dirty these filters get. This is why you need to annually change these, especially if you're in an area that has heavy pollutants or even just pollen. Make sure that you can change these out and get to them every few thousand miles. That way you can breathe in fresh air and make sure you're protected for your lungs, and the interior of your cabin is also filtered correctly. As you can see, your new filters are still sealed away in a plastic bag. Rip that open and take a look and see on the sides of the filters. They could be on the side or the front of them, and it'll show you which way the airflow has to go. Match the factory direction that your airflow was originally on your original filter. You'll see it on there on the side printed. Once you do that, match it, and we'll be sliding these back in. And you can slide the first one in and make sure it misses that electrical harness. Once you get past the electrical harness with the first one, you can slide the second one in, and then you can actually take a look and see how it's fitting. If you're happy with the placement and the fitting of this actual product, we can get the cover ready to go and get our socket and impact wrench ready to put this back on. Once you take your time and get everything all situated and you can hold it on there, we're going to try and get it ready to tighten it down. If you're lucky, the cover will actually sit on there and you won't even have to worry about holding it down before you even tighten it down with the bolt. That way you can get your impact ready and we can put it on. Now if your impactor also has different settings like I've been showing you with this DeWalt, you make sure that you have it set on the lowest setting. This will crack if you over torque this bolt, and then you're going to be in a bigger scenario where you're going to have to be trying to repair this area. So taking your time with this and making sure all your tools are at the right setting is the most important part, even though it's a very simple thing. And if you're worried about using an electrical device on this, just use your normal wrench and put it on a 1/4-inch drive. Once you got it all on there and you're happy with how tight it is, you can now get the old air filters, and what I like to do is to slide the old air filters into the old box. That way, when you go to throw it away, you don't have to worry about breathing in or touching these or anything else like that, or having the garbage men or wherever else you are. If you're at a shop, you have a certain area you throw these away. You don't have to make everyone else touch them. No one really likes to deal with these air filters. They're really not the grossest thing, but to be honest, why would you want to have to touch something dirty if you don't have to? Try to be very courteous and put things away and clean it up as you go, because this is the easiest way to help people out along the line in your own shop, or even just yourself when it comes to cleaning up. That way you don't feel so gross touching everything once it's done. Alright, put your socket set away. You're done with that. You're not going to need it anymore. You're just going to need a screwdriver or your impactor that you're going to be using to put this back on with a Phillips head tip so that you can get it off. Alright, let your epoxy dry, but once it's done, we can get the glove box and get it ready to reinstall it. You're going to want to leave the actual part down in the front, which is the door, and that way we can get our hands on the inside and we can guide it around and try to get this thing to fit perfectly well with the clips that are on the back end of this. You're going to want to slide it around and make sure it fits around your rubber molding on the outsiding, which is your weather stripping, and make sure the rest of it's all lined up. Once you know it's all lined up, you can give it a firm little press and it'll actually clip in, and now you'll be able to put the screws in without holding it. We're going to start with the top screws before we do the bottom screws on the glove box. This way we have it all lined up with that line in the middle between the gray and the tan interior dash material. Once you're satisfied with the lines and making sure everything was originally in the place that it was when you uninstalled it, now we can start setting the screws in from all the way over on the right side to the left. Do not over crank them. You can crack these interior parts. Like I said, they're still plastic. You do not want to use a metal screw and put too much pressure over plastic. We already know what's going to happen there between the two different materials. So you just need enough where it's just firm enough to hold it up against it again without it rattling and cracking from being too firm once you start driving. Alright, so now we're at the bottom when there's 2 screws to put in at the bottom of the glove box again. You're going to want to flip the glove box up, and if you're worried about things still drying or whatever else, hold the glove box door open with your hand as you set the 2 screws in on the bottom end. Take your time, and they're going to want to go in at a certain angle so they don't go in cross-threaded. Alright, once you're done with that, you can use Armor All or any other interior cleaner that you like. This is what I had available that's left over. I will be changing over from Armor All because I learned they have silicone in that, and I don't want to be applying that on my interior panels that much. However, I don't like to waste anything, so I'm going to use this barrel up. I use it to clean up any sort of fingerprints or grease that I had on there from installing this stuff. This way, it never looks like I was even in there. You don't want to leave grease or anything on a client's car or anything else like that. Or even if it's your own vehicle, you know you want to. Thanks again, guys. Stay tuned for more videos just like this. Remember to like and subscribe. I am a small channel with a small garage. I'm building my way up to a restoration shop. Remember to check out my merch and my eBay channel too.